Thus far, we've been focusing on writing fractions as decimals. Now we're going to write decimals as fractions. So when we rewrite a decimal as a simplified fraction, we will start by writing it as a fraction based on its place value, a power of 10. Okay, so we've done this before in 2a. However, now we're going to write decimals as simplified fractions. So observe that 10's prime factorization is 2 times 5. So we saw this in a previous video. So any power of 10 is just a product of 2's and 5's. So this will make the process of simplification easier because we will only have to check the numerator for factors of 2's and 5's. So this is very good news. So when we simplify fractions, remember before sometimes we did prime factorization or repeated division and we had to look for common factors. But since 10 only has factors of 2 and 5, it's going to make our work a lot easier. So I'll elaborate more on that as we continue. So 0.8, we know this is 8 tenths. Okay, so 8 is in the tenths place. So now let's simplify this. So here's where the good news starts. I'm going to write this a little bit bigger. Is we know that 10 is just 2 times 5. So all we have to do is check to see if 8 has any factors of 2 or 5. And that's really easy to check. So if the number's even, it has a factor of 2. If the number is divisible by 5, it ends in a 0 or a 5. So we just have to check those two things about the numerator. So notice that it is even, so I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So simplified, 8 tenths is 4 fifths. Now notice since there was just one factor of 10, we only had one factor of 2 to divide out by. So even though 4 still has two factors of 2, the denominator doesn't have any factors of 2 left to divide out by. So this is completely simplified. Let's look at the next one. 65 hundredths. So we'd write this as 65 over 100. Now let's get ready to simplify it. So notice 65 is not even, so it is not divisible by 2, but it does end in a 5, so it is divisible by 5. So I'm going to divide these both by 5. Okay, you can do this by hand or you could use the calculator. 65 divided by 5 is 13, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. So we have 13 over 20. Now I'm just going to check to see if it can be simplified more. So 20 still has factors of 2's and 5's. 13, it's not even, it doesn't end in 0 or 5, so this is completely simplified. Let's look at the next one, 44 hundredths. So notice 44 is even. So I'm going to divide the numerator and denominator by 2. So 44 divided by 2, it goes in 22 times, and 100 divided by 2 is 50. Okay. So notice this is not completely simplified yet. So we still have a factor of 2 in the denominator. I know that because it's even. And we still have 1 in the numerator because it's even. So I should keep dividing. So 22 divided by 2 over 50 divided by 2. That gives us 11 over 25. So now the denominator is just factors of 5. 11 is prime. So there, I can't simplify this anymore, and it's completely simplified. Last one, we're going to write 2 over 1,000. Because 2 is in the thousandths place, or remember a 1 with as many decimal places, you write that many zeros. That's another trick you can use, as long as you remember it correctly. Now, see if this can be simplified. Well, they're both even. So I'm going to divide them both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. Okay, 1 doesn't have any factors besides itself, so this is completely simplified. So we've rewritten decimals as fractions with their base 10 denominators, but now we know how to simplify fractions as well, so we simplified the resulting fraction to give an equivalent fraction that's completely simplified.